Egypt just got away with one. It finished Egypt 2, Zimbabwe 1, and both of these sides first games at Afcon 2025. But before I get into it, guys, make sure you're liking, commenting, subscribing. Going to try and make videos throughout the whole of Afcon. I'm in England for the group phase, but we're flying out to Morocco on the 2nd of Jan for the knockout phase of what is my favourite international competition. It's so unpredictable. And this game just encompassed what Afcon is. It had the drama, it had the narrative, and I'm not going to break down the X's and O's of the game. That's not really my bag, guys. I love the narrative and storytelling when it comes to football. And there is so much to talk about in this game. Egypt going 1 goal down in the first half. Goal for Prince Dube for Zimbabwe. And it looked like the writing was on the wall, right? This is an Egypt led by Mo Salah. This is an Egypt that are the most successful team in the history of Afcon. They've won it 7 times. But this is an Egypt team that are currently on a drought. Haven't won this tournament since Mo Salah's been an Egypt international. Mo Salah's one of the greatest African footballers, one of the greatest footballers of all time. And the fact that he hasn't got an Afcon on his resume is a glaring gap. And it's something he's trying to rectify in this tournament. But it was looking testy. It was looking tasty for Egypt in the game against Zimbabwe. They went 1 goal down, had to pull it out the fire in the second half. Goals from Omar Marmoush and Mo Salah, Egypt's 2 best players, of course, saw them through, and it was dramatic, guys. For the whole of the first half, it was looking like this is a disaster, right? Think about all the chat about Egypt going into this tournament. Think about the noise surrounding Mo Salah, and can he finally get it done? We know Mo Salah's been in the headlines for various reasons, most notably because of him speaking out after being dropped from Liverpool's team for 3 games in a row, saying that the manager hasn't spoken to him, he's being thrown under the bus, etc., etc. Guys, you know the story of Mo Salah this season at Liverpool. And it was, to me, it's kind of ironic, right, that Monday Night Football was going on at the same time, Fulham beating Nottingham Forest. And, of course, Jamie Carragher's on Monday Night Football. He's doing the analysis. He was in the studio. And I don't want to cast aspersions, but I'm sure he had one eye on this Egypt game thinking, will my prophecy come true? Not even a prophecy, but the fact that when he was slandering Mo Salah, he brought up the fact that this is a man that hasn't won Afcon. And it was an interesting take from Jamie Carragher. I've got my own views and notions on that. I think it was a bit of a cheap shot for him to point to that tournament as a reason to denigrate Mo Salah. But the facts remain. This is a tournament that Mo Salah has not won. And when Egypt were 1-0 down in the first half against Zimbabwe, it was looking like troubled waters for Egypt. But Mo Salah did what Mo Salah's done for the last 10 years. Mo Salah popped up with an important goal for his team when they needed it the most. 91st minute, the ball falls into him in the box. It's a finish that I think most Premier League keepers save. Unfortunately, the Zimbabwe keeper who had a great game, he couldn't get his fingertips to it, and it goes in, and Mo Salah goes off celebrating, and Egypt managed to pull it out the fire. They win that game 2-1, and the game they needed to win, right? If you look at the other game in the group, South Africa versus Angola. South Africa are my dark horses. Haven't got the superstar names, but they beat Angola 2-1. And if Egypt were to drop points in this game, it starts to look a little bit, a little bit troublesome in terms of their progression to the latter stages of this tournament, but they managed to get it done. But the purpose for this video is I want to talk about what this Afcon means for Mo Salah. This is a man that has struggled. Let's be honest. He has struggled this year in the Premier League. He was dropped by Arne Slot. He came out and did that incredible post-match interview that broke the internet and effectively called out his manager, and was probably viewing this Afcon tournament as respite, right? As a chance to go and make a mark on the continent. Make a mark on the continent that I think if you're doing a list of the pantheon of great African footballers, Mo Salah has to be up there with the likes of Didier Drogba and George Weah and Samuel Eto'o. Mo Salah's in those conversations, and I think winning an Afcon might put him to the top of that list, but he hasn't won this tournament yet. And what this can do for his legacy is really cement him as an all-time great. And we talk about Mo Salah, we say, is he one of the greatest Premier League players of all time? Of course. Is he one of the greatest? Is he one of the greatest kind of foreign players to play in the Premier League? Of course. But winning an international tournament, it just does so much for your legacy, for your resume. And this is something that Mo Salah is acutely aware of. As much as there was a portrayal of Mo Salah as being this quiet, humble guy, I've always said he is cut more from the same cloth as Cristiano Ronaldo than Lionel Messi. Mo Salah wants the goals, wants the records, wants the trophies, wants the individual honours. This is a Mo Salah that wants it all. And as the man who's leading Egypt as their captain, as the man who is his nation's talisman, as the most famous Egyptian footballer of all time, it's not even close, as the most famous Muslim footballer of all time, winning this tournament, as much as people want to downplay the importance of Afcon, it will mean everything for Mo Salah. And this is a player that, for the first time in a long time, is being questioned. And for good reason. Mo Salah's not been great this season. And all the glaring gaps in his game in terms of not tracking back and maybe being a little bit selfish, it's all coming to a head this season because he's not giving you the extraordinary numbers that we're used to seeing from a player of this level. This is the worst season of his career at Liverpool. This is the worst season of his career in a long, long time, probably since he pulled on a Chelsea shirt. This is a Mo Salah that's been incredibly consistent when he spent time in Italy, then he came to Liverpool. He's been consistently ranked as one of the best players in the world. But that discourse and narrative around Mo Salah has changed this season. And that's why this tournament is so important for the Egyptian king. He's trying to elevate from the Egyptian king to the African king. He's at the doorstep of destiny. Now it's his opportunity to kick open that door and become an all-time great. And when you go through the list, I mentioned the names previously. Didier Drogba, he never won an Afcon. George Weah, he won a Ballon d'Or but never won an Afcon. For my money, the greatest African player of all time is Samuel Eto'o. He has got the most complete resume. Of course, I don't expect, but African countries winning the World Cup, that's very difficult. But everything else, Eto'o's got on his resume. Champions League, check multiple. 2 at Barcelona, 1 at Inter Milan. Back-to-back trebles. A treble with Barcelona in the 08-09 season and a treble with Inter Milan 09-10 season, an integral part of both of those teams. And so, for my money, Samuel Eto'o sits atop the pyramid as the greatest African footballer of all time. But in my mind, if Mo Salah can manage to get this job done and do something that he's never done in his career, win Afcon, then we are having different conversations. And I think that Mo Salah will ascend to the greatest African footballer of all time. But I look at this Egypt team and I'm not fully convinced, man. Like, in the first half, Salah was good. He created clear-cut chances for his teammates. They couldn't finish him. But defensively, they look very, very shaky. They need to sharpen up because Zimbabwe could have scored more. Zimbabwe are a side that, like I said, are not really fancy. They're not a powerhouse when it comes to African football. But in that first half, they were the better side for spells. Egypt started the game very well. First 10 minutes, they were the better side. But they let Zimbabwe go into it and they rightly went ahead Zimbabwe through Prince Dube and it was looking very, very techie for Mo Salah in Egypt. But in the second half, we saw quality prevail. We saw Omar Mamouche with an incredible goal from the left-hand side, just rifles it past the Zimbabwe keeper who had been good up to that point and made some good saves. And like I said, in the last minute, Mo Salah came up with the goods for his nation when they needed him the most. And it's very difficult to compare. This comparison I'm going to make is maybe a little bit tenuous. It doesn't really match apples to apples. But I looked at Lionel Messi at the 2022 World Cup, right? And that was billed as Messi's last dance, even though he is going to the World Cup next year, probably with Argentina. And it was a tournament that I felt that Messi had to win. And he did what he had to do. He was the best player of that tournament, came up with big goals and big assists when his nation needed him. And that's what Mo Salah needs to use as a blueprint. It doesn't matter about the patterns of play. It doesn't matter about if you're tracking back. It matters about if you're delivering. And that's what it's like at major tournaments. The style of play, how you get the job done is not important. It's irrelevant. It's about whether you turn up in the big moments. International tournaments are about big moments. And Mo Salah, for the majority of his career, has been a player that's turned up in the big moments and delivered. And this is a tournament that I think he can really make his own. These North African sides, they struggle in Afcons south of the Sahara. We saw Egypt struggle at Afcon last time out in the Ivory Coast. They end up going out in the round of 16. Morocco, who were the favourites for the last tournament, the host of this tournament, they went out in the round of 16. Tunisia out in the group phase. Algeria out in the group phase last time out. But the fact that this tournament is in Morocco, the fact that this tournament is in North Africa, it gives these sides a huge advantage and a huge chance in that dry, humid climate or dry climate where those players are maybe a little bit more used to it, and it's a lot different to playing football in West or East Africa. So I'm expecting big things from Mo Salah, and for me, it's all about the narrative. What will it mean for Mo Salah if he can get this done? What will it mean for Mo Salah if he can walk away with Afcon? What will it mean for Mo Salah if he turns up in a big way at a major tournament? Not just for him and his legacy when it comes to Egypt, but also what will it mean for Mo Salah going forward this season with Liverpool? Alexander Isak has just had surgery. We're unsure when he's going to return, but he's going to be a long-term absentee. You look at Ekitike, he's playing very well, scoring goals now. But there is now an opportunity for Mo Salah to work his way back into Arne Slot's plans and to have a big effect for Liverpool this season. I think the league title is beyond Liverpool. Again, it's a very different Premier League season. Teams are dropping points left, right and centre. And maybe if Liverpool can go on a run, they can challenge for the title still. But I never, ever rule Liverpool out when it comes to the Champions League. They've got the Anfield factor. They've got the fact that if they're playing a two-legged game in the knockouts, teams have to come to Anfield, whether it's the first leg or second leg. And that's a huge advantage. And if Mo Salah can find his feet, can find his form and translate good form from Afcon, if he does put forward good performances, if he can replicate that form for Liverpool later on this season, there's no reason why Mo Salah can't salvage what has so far been a disastrous season. So yeah, this is just my thoughts and take on Mo Salah's first game at Afcon, Egypt's first game at Afcon. They got the job done just about. It took a last-minute winner from Mo Salah, but they got the win they needed in Group B. Both them and South Africa sit on 3 points at the top of the group, and it's put them in a great position to qualify for the next phase of Afcon. And then we'll see what happens. But guys, you know I'll be locked in. You know I'll be back with videos for you, dissecting Afcon, giving you the biggest stories, my takes on the biggest narratives, as the tournament progresses. And like I say, come January, I'm there. I'm in Morocco, and these videos will be coming to you live and direct from Marrakesh, from Rabat, from all the locations in Morocco as we cover what is, like I said, my favorite international tournament that has so many twists and turns. It's a roller coaster. It's dramatic. I was at the last one in the Ivory Coast, and I'm going to be at this one in a few weeks. So guys, make sure you're locked in. Make sure you're liking, commenting, subscribing. Let me know what kind of videos you want to see from me next. Maybe you would prefer for me to break down the games in a little bit more detail and give you my thoughts on the X's and O's. But for me, I'm about the Jims and the Joes. I like the real men that paint these stories and draw these fantastic kind of pictures for us to dissect and talk about. So guys, I'll be back next week. No. I'll be back tomorrow. That's me promising consistency. I'll be back tomorrow to bring you my takes on what is going to be one of the best tournaments this year. See you then.